On the morning of December 6, 1917, Halifax was a busy wartime city. Ships moved through the harbor every day, carrying the weight of a world at war. Children walked to school, breaths visible in the cold Atlantic air. Workers headed downtown, starting another ordinary day. Everything seemed normal. Then, in less than 20 seconds, a flash of light changed everything. An explosion so massive it tore the city apart. Nearly 2,000 people were killed. Thousands more were left blinded or broken. Entire neighborhoods simply vanished. This is the story of the Halifax Explosion, the deadliest disaster in Canadian history. At the time, the First World War was raging across Europe. Halifax had become one of the most important ports in the entire British Empire. And on that cold December morning, a French cargo ship named the SS Mont Blanc entered the harbor, carrying a cargo of death. At around 8:45 a.m., the SS Mont Blanc slowly made its way into a narrow section of the harbor known as the Narrows. The captain had no idea what was waiting for him just around the corner. Moving in the opposite direction was the Norwegian vessel, the SS Imo. It was a clear morning, but the harbor was crowded. The two ships were moving directly toward one another. Both crews suddenly realized they were on a fatal collision course. Panic began to set in as they desperately tried to signal their intentions, but the messages were misunderstood. Desperate warning whistles echoed across the cold water, a series of frantic blasts that signaled imminent disaster. But despite their efforts, it was already too late. The ships collided with a sickening sound of grinding metal. The hull of the Imo sliced deep into the Mont Blanc, creating a shower of sparks that would soon ignite the world. The impact sparked a fire on board the Mont Blanc. Within seconds, thick black smoke began to pour from the deck, rising high into the morning sky for all of Halifax to see. Because the crew knew exactly what their ship was carrying, they didn't stay to fight the flames. They panicked, lowering the lifeboats as fast as they could, leaving the city to its fate. The crew abandoned the ship immediately. But there was one major problem. Almost nobody in Halifax knew the ship was loaded with explosives. As the burning ship drifted toward the city, crowds gathered along the harbor. Children watched from school windows. Some people even climbed rooftops for a better view. As the burning ship drifted closer to the docks, the city of Halifax held its breath. Nobody knew that at 9:04 a.m., everything was about to change forever. Then, the SS Mont Blanc exploded with a force never before seen. The blast was so powerful that it leveled entire neighborhoods instantly. A pressure wave ripped through the city at over 1,000 kilometers per hour. Windows shattered for kilometers, and buildings were flattened instantly. The force of the explosion displaced the harbor, creating a massive tsunami that surged through the streets, dragging everything back into the water. In the neighborhoods that still stood, thousands of people watching the fire were suddenly blinded by a rain of flying glass. Within seconds, the busiest port had become a graveyard. The physical consequences were terrifying, but the human cost was just beginning. When the smoke finally cleared, the people of Halifax emerged to a scene of absolute horror. The city they knew was now a desolate war zone. Entire neighborhoods had vanished from the map. Families who had been together just minutes before were gone in an instant. The statistics were staggering. 2,000 people were dead, 9,000 injured, and 25,000 were left homeless in the biting winter. Rescue crews and soldiers searched desperately through the frozen ruins, digging with their bare hands to find anyone still alive in the wreckage. And then, a massive snowstorm buried the city just one day later, stalling rescue efforts and bringing even more suffering to the survivors. More than a century later, the Halifax explosion remains one of the largest non-nuclear explosions ever recorded, a permanent scar on history. It's a disaster that history almost forgot. Subscribe for more hidden stories from Canadian history. Thank you for watching.